Good evening, everybody. Glad you decided to come in and be with us this afternoon.
Gonna start out saying hello to everybody in chat.
Yeah, who all we got there, Cody?
Larry Oliver, how's it going? So go. Brian B. Catfishing. Brian B. is gonna also be in the Iron Cat. Best of luck to you, Brian B. We're hoping for first, but we'll root for you for second. Dale Hayslip. Straight to the Point Outdoors, Eddie Gross, and 351 Cleveland, Big Slim 91. I think I got everybody, but if I missed
Uncle G,
okay, yeah, that's probably
Thomas Garrett.
Yep,
welcome.
So, thank y'all for joining us. We've got Country Boy Catfishing on with us tonight, but before we get too far into the stream, I seen Avid was starting a challenge, and I thought it was pretty cool, and it was something that's definitely going to be great for a lot of waterways. So if y'all get a chance, go over to Avid Fisherman's channel. He's got a challenge coming out. It's called the Trash Bag Challenge, I believe is what it's called. The gist of it's somewhere around, like you take a clear trash bag out, pick up any trash you see while you're out fishing, and weigh it up. He's got the rules on how you go about doing all that in there. And the winner wins a gift card at the end of it. So potentially get to win a gift card. And even if you don't win, you've done something great for the fishery you're utilizing.
Cleaning it up.
So I seen that, wanted to give out
a great idea.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Wanted to give out a shout out. So without further ado, we'll bring the man of the hour in and get this thing started. Central Valley Adventures, how's it going? Larry King, how's it going?
Mr. David from Country Boy Catfishing. How's it going?
Hey, everyone. Pretty good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, thanks for being on. We love to watch your show. You're a very knowledgeable guy. So we thought, hey, have a chance. Let's get you on here and we'll talk some more fishing. That's what we love to do.
That's right.
Last night. Really enjoyed Kevin being on your show. The Fishing 101 always has some great people on, and you're always sharing a wealth of knowledge. So that's awesome. We'll get things started. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got your channel started, maybe some personal information, anything you feel like you want to let the people watching in know.
Well, I basically fished all my life. I started as a young boy, and, my mother was a single mother, raised us 4 kids, but my uncle and my aunt were real close to us. They were like having a second mother and father. And my uncle would come get me at a very young age and would take me out and get me on the boat and get me on the water. And I've always had a passion and a love for the outdoors, whether it be fishing or hunting. Even though I'm an ordained minister, I feel closer to God when I'm outside and outdoors than I do sitting in the church. There's just something special about being out there surrounded by, all his creations and the beauty and stuff. I got to watching YouTube, and first person I ever started watching.
I don't know if that's on our end or on his end.
Big hero of mine was Steve Douglas. I started watching Steve Douglas on YouTube, and
you still with us there, David?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of a service hiccup. Nature of the beast with where Mama and Daddy live is the best Wi-Fi signal out here is not a good Wi-Fi signal.
Hey, I'm a country boy, just like it says. I live out here, and mine's the same way. And it'll be great, and then all of a sudden it just drops off, and you just have to wait for it to come back.
That's the same thing.
We live right out here by the lake, so service is not great. But
Fins and Fowl, how's it going? Steve Austin, how's it going?
I'm in between 4 lakes here.
Yes.
I've got 4 lakes all within 10 minutes of me.
That's pretty cool there. How big are they?
They're local city lakes. They're pretty good size, but we had an issue. They had a guy over the lakes that was not a fisherman. He just really didn't care. He didn't take care of them. and they really declined. They went downhill for about 10 years. And the city started losing a lot of revenue because the lakes become overfished. There wasn't a lot of fish population. They become run down. The boathouses and stuff were in bad shape, and bathrooms and stuff. So people quit utilizing that resource. Well, once that started cutting into the city's pocketbook, they realized something was wrong, and they've got a new guy that's over the lakes now. Great gentleman. I've talked to him several times. They went in, they cleaned the lakes up. They built all brand new restrooms and facilities and stuff for the ladies and stuff to go in there. They put showers and stuff in the restrooms for people camping. They're building new docks and stuff. They started stocking the lakes this year. They put bass and saugeye and crappie and stuff in, and next year they're going to restock with the catfish and get that going. So it's been great talking to those guys and being able to communicate with them and seeing them start to take an interest in bringing these lakes back, because back when I was a young man, in my teens even, they were excellent fisheries. You could go out there and catch 50, 60-pound flatheads, and, they were just well maintained and taken care of. A lot of people didn't fish them because you had more skiers and boaters, pleasure boaters, but they had a wonderful fish population. And now they're starting to recognize that and, starting to take care of them again, because there's other lakes in this area. There's several lakes within an hour from where I live, and people would drive that extra 30 minutes to go to those other lakes to camp and stuff because they knew they could catch fish there. And, that's the moral of the story. When you go camping, especially if you've got young kids and stuff, when you go out onto the water, you want them youngsters to be able to catch fish. And it doesn't matter if it's bluegill, just something to keep them entertained and get them introduced to it. So they're really starting to take care of them. It's progressing well. And I've had the pleasure of getting to talk with them one-on-one. So it's very nice.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I know right here at home, Barren River Lake, I see them taking better care of our home lake right now than ever before. They're putting a lot of structure out there in the water every year, making a lot of habitat for the fish. They're coming up with new regulations on the fish, so the fish have opportunities to grow and mature.
Yeah.
And I actually had an opportunity to talk to one of our fish biologists last week, and she was telling me with inside the department, each different species of fish, they have a team for. And actually, she's reaching out to our catfish team for me, so try to get where I can talk to them and maybe have them on the show one night.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
And us fishermen, the more we can do to get involved with our local lakes and our waters and our biologists and stuff and help kind of educate them and learn from them as well, the more we can do individually, the better off our population and our fishing lakes and stuff are going to become. Don't be afraid to talk to people. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Don't be silent. All right, to make a little noise.
That's right.
And with being said, to all the new regulations they put on waterways locally for us, and all the habitat they put in, PVC trees and different things. I don't know how it is in Oklahoma where you're from, but each county in Kentucky only has one conservation officer, which the lake that we fish is split between two counties. It's a small lake, but it sits on the border of two counties. So there's two conservation officers that help, that you're liable to see on it at any time. But of course, they take care of anything to do with wildlife. So they're really just stretched thin. And I know there's a lack of knowledge on new regulations, and then there's a lack of care from some local fishermen. And I really hate that. I wish the conservation officers locally weren't stretched so thin, because some of these regulations they put out, I think if we're adhered to a little bit better, that we would reap even more of a benefit from them. We are getting some benefit from them, but you know, like anything, nothing's always perfect. So I'm not down on how they do it, and it's just from a lack of manpower. I think one person per county, when you're taking care of a lake and the woods, and you're in such a rural area where everybody hunts and fishes, that's a lot to ask of one man.
They do the same thing here, one person per county, but one of the lakes I fish is so big, it actually covers 3 different counties.
Oh,
so you Stevens County, Cotton County, and Jefferson County. And they won't cross jurisdiction, but, you know, sometimes it makes it easier to find one of the game wardens. And they actually have, to that particular body of water, they have a highway patrol officer that lives on that lake, and he's assigned to it. So he has a patrol boat and stuff out there to where they can patrol the waters because, you know, it's sad, but you have a lot of alcohol-related injuries and stuff on the water. This lake, when it was built, they left the trees, the houses, the fence posts, everything still in the bottom. Excuse me. So it has stumps and stuff in it. If you're not familiar with that lake, it can be very dangerous. And there's guys, we've had several fatalities just from people that were new to the water, and they go out there and they want to run wide open across that lake. And one day I sat out there and watched 3 boats get sunk in the exact same spot.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, our home lake's very shallow, and also, and if you don't know the lake, there's a lot of rock, a lot of stumps, and you will be on them quick. You'll tear, you know, lower unit off your boat motor really quick.
I thought it was bad till we went to Eufaula. Then we learned what was bad.
Yeah, we went to Alabama, and that lake over there, it was crazy. You'd be in 14 foot of water, and you got out of the channel, you were in 2 foot of water.
And the channel, at least our channel stays pretty straight. It cuts left to right every now and then, but it goes from completely right-hand side to completely left-hand side. And if you watch the bank, of course, you go to the steep bank, you know that's the channel on that side. They don't have any channel markers out there. A little common sense will keep you in the channel, which a lot of people lack, but a little common sense will keep you in the channel. We went to Eufaula, and I mean, that thing, it was like playing Mario Kart out there. I mean, I said, golly, Daddy, he's like, I got to stay in the channel.
What gets people here on this lake is it's so big, and you can be in 30 foot of water, and there's still trees 12 to 15 foot above the water. And even in 20 and 30 foot of water, if you're along that creek channel anywhere that comes through there, or the creek channels that branch off of it, there's still standing timber. It may be an inch under the surface. It may be 4 inches under the surface. And if you're not aware of this obstacle, because it's stained water, it's always stained, and it's fed by 2 major creeks, and they get out there and, you know, they think, man, I'm in 15, 20 foot of water, hammer down. Well, next thing you know, it's tucked the whole bottom of that boat out, and it's sad, but, you know, common sense, guys, is not a flower that grows in everybody's garden anymore.
That's a polite way of putting it.
You really got to look out on the water with the boat. It's not so much how safe you are. You've got to pay attention to everybody else out there, because you've got a lot of people that never had a boat before. They're just beginning, or they got boats and they've got a little alcohol in them, or they're just one of them rude, inconsiderate people that have no respect and just don't care, and, you know, think they own the whole water. And it can be dangerous. It's about like a motorcycle. It's not so much what you're doing, but you have to watch everybody else.
Yeah. Pleasure boaters have gotten really thick on our home waterways. We've talked about it a few times before, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it can be pretty dangerous if you're in a fishing vessel, because of course, the only fishing vessels on our home lake are bass boats and John boats. I mean, you're not going to, you rarely see a center a Carolina skiff, anything like
some.
Right. But I mean, 95% of the fishing vessels on our lake are just bass boats and john boats, and then you've got some pontoons that'll be out fishing. But it used to, you wouldn't see near as many pleasure boaters. Now there's as many pleasure boaters on our lake as there is fishermen, and there's a lot of fishermen on our lake. And they'll be up in the creeks where it's posted, no skiing and stuff, and you think you can get back away from it, and you just can't. And then, of course, you've got the inconsiderates like what you said, but I won't get started on that because I'll get aggravated. And, I don't know. But, I almost think that they should start doing you have to have a boating license. I think it would go a long ways. Or a permit. I don't know, of course, and if they did a $10, boating license where they did a little class or something, same as what you have to do with your driver's license, it would teach some people some what I would call common sense things, but obviously aren't common sense to others. And as well, maybe bringing a little revenue for conservation. But I don't see it happening, but I think that's something that would probably be a great thing. I don't know what you think about it or David thinks about it, but the water's
I think it's a great idea for the safety of others. People go out and buy these boats, and you have boats meeting each other. Do you know how many people don't even know which side of the boat they're supposed to pass each other on?
Dog led blindly, wide open, right?
Yeah, and the same thing with them jet skis. I don't know if y'all have them up there, but you're there and you'll watch a boat go, and here come these yahoos on these jet skis trying to jump the wakes behind it, and there's other boats coming. That boat creates a blind spot, and them jet skis, you really have to watch out for them things because they do not pay attention.
That's true, and we deal with the same thing. So, are the waters you fish in reservoirs, or they're staying at the same level pretty much throughout the year?
No, Eureka Lake is one of my favorite lakes. Fins and Fowls fishes it too. It's fed by two major creeks, and we have had so much rain this year already. It rained for almost 4 months straight.
Wow.
And so the water level would go up, and it's a flood control lake. So as soon as it goes up, them Corps engineers open them floodgates. So then they'd start to drain it back down. Well, about the time they got it drained down, they would shut it off, and then all the other water would come in and go right back up. So we've been suffering for the last 4 months, kind of the yo-yo effect. And you go out there one day, and it's 4 foot up on the banks, and you go back 2 days later, and it's a foot below the bank, and then the next time you go, it's back over the bank again. And the fish are just as confused as we are because, it's that constant up and down, and it happened at such a bad time when the crappie and the catfish and stuff normally pull up there in them flats along them rocks and stuff to spawn. So I think a lot of them kept getting pushed off of their regular spawning areas and ended up having to spawn in deeper water. Well, when you spawn in deeper water like that, there's more predator fish out there to feed on them eggs, and I don't believe as many of the eggs the hatch survive.
Right. Well, also when the water level is up and down, they will just not spawn because they'll move up to spawn. The water goes way up or way down. They'll move back out, and they'll only do that 2 or 3 times, and then they won't spawn for the year.
Yeah,
and I recently learned they'll reabsorb their eggs similar to way I know you caught crappie and fillet them open, and they'll have those little hard, they're like dried up crappie eggs in them. And I recently learned that catfish do the same thing. I didn't know that, and so that was interesting to learn.
Well, and another thing, when your water level is up and down like that all the time, it really affects the fish as far as them biting. It affects their moving patterns because say they pull up into the shallows and they're wanting to be up in there where that water's warm and they want to feed up there in that shallow water. Well, pretty soon your 2 foot of water turns into 6 foot of water. So they're looking for other places to relocate. And the only good thing about it is when them creeks are running and that fresh water is coming into that lake, that creek channel goes all the way through that lake. And when that fresh water is hitting that, them fish will hit that creek channel from miles up that lake, even up by the dam, because that current's going through there. They'll hit that creek channel and come back to the mouth of those creeks. And there's huge shallow flats back there, average about 4 foot deep. And they'll stockpile in there. So if you can get in there and you can get access to the mouth of those creeks, when that water's coming in, you can have a great bite. And also you catch them coming in, and when they close them gates and that current is shut off, them fish will move back out of them creeks and go back to their natural homes. And so you kind of got traffic going both ways, and you can sit there and pick them off.
Right.
Getting the choke points, is that what you normally fish in those spots? Anyone got a bridge overpass where it chokes in or something like that? Is that what you're?
Well, we've got a lot of underwater islands because the old road beds and stuff are still in that lake when it flooded. The roads are still there. The old concrete bridges, all that stuff is underwater. So if you know where that's at, it's a gold mine, especially for the big flatheads, because those concrete bridges, man, them big flatheads love that overhead cover, and they will get up in them holes of that bridge, and they'll just stack around that bridge and travel the corridors along the ditches. It can be some really great fishing. And that particular lake, there's levees out there. And if you don't know where the hole in that levee is, and you'll run aground. I've seen guys, and I even fished with another gentleman. He's not with us anymore, but he knew where the hole in the levee was, and he had one of them stick steer bass boats, and he wasn't paying attention, and he went flying through there, and he hit that sandbar. He missed that hole, and it launched him out of that boat probably a good 40 yards, and where he landed wasn't but about 12 inches deep, and it stuck him in that dirt and stuff like a yard dart. And of course, it was funny, but we had to go over there and pull him out, make sure he's okay, and didn't get hurt. But it was one of them things. He knew better. He just got in a hurry and wasn't paying attention.
Yes. Yeah, we've got a few of those islands in our lake and the road beds. I know where a few of them are. Daddy knows where most of them are. And they definitely hold fish, and fish tend to spawn a lot around them. I've noticed because of all the old concrete and stuff that's broke off. You've got great spawning areas and ledges of concrete where the creeks or drainage comes across there and washes out from under it. It just creates a perfect environment for catfish spawning. And we've targeted some areas like that here the last couple of trips we've been out. But we've been trying to go live when we were fishing here lately. And I don't know what's going on with the phone service. The place where we very first learned that we could get signal on the lake, I can't get any signal now. Places where I couldn't get signal before, I'm getting the best signal. And now it's gotten down to there's like one little spot on the lake I can get signal. We've got the same phone service. No clue what's going on there. So bit of a headache. May have to start filming some more and quit doing as many lives. But we really enjoy the lives. So
I do too.
Like being able to conversate with the people in the chat. We don't conversate with people in the chat as much on our Thursday night show because, of course, it's about helping whoever is on the show get in front of our viewers, and maybe some of our viewers aren't familiar with them and they can find a new channel to watch. But when we're out fishing live, I'm pretty much sitting there reading the chat and conversating back and forth nonstop the whole time. So we really like it. But another part of living in a rural area, I don't want to live in the city, but cellular service and Wi-Fi is not good out here.
Well, even in the cities, you're kind of at the mercy of the airwaves. I'm sure your dad, Larry, remembers. If you remember the days of CB radio, when the CBs and stuff. You know, there were peak times you had to catch the airwaves right. You may be able to talk all the way to Hawaii one night, and then it may be 6 months before you ever get back to Hawaii again. You know, we used to keep maps, and every time we talked to somebody, we'd take a thumbtack and mark it on that map. And you know, you'd be surprised the places you could reach, but you're still doing the same thing. Them cell phones and stuff, they're traveling on them airwaves. And you know, 1 minute you'll have great service, and the wind, even the wind direction and stuff could change, and it's just flat dead. You know, so
yeah, it can be frustrating, especially if you've got an area you know is going to be good, but you've already went live to have to change spots. But it is what it is. I've never personally spoke on a CB. Listened to a little bit of Red Savine. I like the song Teddy Bear, if that counts for anything.
down here, everybody had CBs back in the day, and we would take them fluorescent. Yeah, I'm quite a bit older. We would take them fluorescent bulbs and tape them to our antennas, and you could hit that linear, and when you keyed that mic, it would light your bulbs and stuff up. Had a Ford Thunderbird one time. Every time you'd key the mic, it'd turn the windshield wipers on. And we were pushing a lot of power through those CBs, and you know. But back then, that's how everyone, even when you traveled, if we weren't in the rig somewhere, even in our personal cars, we had them. And you know, a CB radio back then was your best friend. Like when I took my uncle up to Tennessee down into Alabama for his daddy's funeral and stuff, we had that CB in there, and you could get on that interstate and get to talking to them truckers, and you could fall in with them and set her on about 90 headed down that turnpike, and y'all just fall in together, and you could get some gone because everybody was out there. It wasn't radar detectors, but you had eyes and ears everywhere looking for Smokey the Bear. And you know, it was a simpler time, but it sure was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. You're exactly right. You know, not only just sitting here, it makes me think about, you know, used to have a lot of ham radio operators.
Yeah,
I don't guess you have any of that anymore. I mean, far as I know. But,
ham, like HAM.
No, it was signified something, but they were radio operators. They would communicate all over the world.
Just talking to Aiken or something. I mean, what are you talking about?
They still have them down here. There's people that still have them. They've got to where they put such strict regulations on them.
Right.
But when everything else fails, the phone lines are down, your cell towers are down. When all that's done, CB and the ham radios will still work, so you have a way to communicate. The problem with that is people were doing like we were, and they were putting all these linears and stuff on there, and they would boost the power so bad that when you'd key up, you knock out people's microwaves or TVs, killed a lot of TVs, refrigerators, stuff like that. So they kind of made the regulations more strict, but there's still some out there.
All right.
Yeah, I guess I never realized, that they were strong enough to do that stuff, and I guess they worked off the same sound waves or whatever. So
yeah,
there you go.
That's all over my head. I hear ham radio, I get hungry. I don't think about chatting with
He's thinking of a ham.
Well, yeah. Me and your dad are old enough. We remember that stuff.
That's right.
A little bit above my head. So,
and,
well, I know you went over some of this last night in your live stream, so I won't pry too deep into it. But just in case we got some people in that didn't get to catch Fishing 101 last night, tell us about your preference on rigs, line, if you got a certain brand of rods you stick with. Just a general rundown of something somebody in the chat who's a little bit new to fishing might like to hear.
The rods, guys, there's so many rods out there now that are strictly for catfishing. Your dad knows even 5 years ago, we did not have this assortment of rods. You were taking rods that were made for trolling or surf rods or a striper. You were taking rods designed for another fish, and we were just trying to rig them and incorporate them for catfishing, because nobody really catered to the catfishermen. Well, now everybody and their dog is making catfish rods, and it's a great time. But there's a lot of rods out there, and they're all great, guys. They all serve their purpose. All depends on what you want to spend and what fish you're after. A lot of guys don't understand the actions of the rods, the medium versus the medium heavy versus the heavy. If you're out there catching 2 to 5 pound fish, don't go out there with the heavy rod and a big reel, because you're just going to winch them in. It's going to take all the fight out of it. You're going to lose that play. You can go out there with a medium action ugly stick rod, and man, you catch a 10-pound fish and it feels like you got a 30 on there, and it's just a blast. You know, you want to keep it fun. So the main thing would be match your gear for whatever size you're going after. And my line, I'm not a braid fan. I tried it when it come out, and I have lots of rocks and stumps and jagged edges, and they would shred that braid. I lost a lot of fish with that braid, and I went back to my trusted Berkeley Big Game. I like the Berkeley Big Game. I've used it for years and years and years, and I cannot the number of 40 to 70-pound fish that I've caught on 25-pound big game. I know some people don't like it because it's got memory, and some people like the Andy fishing line. The only problem I have with the Andy, it doesn't have any memory, but if it's rated at 30 pounds, it's going to break right at 30 pounds. To where the big game, it's super tough. It is hard to tear that Berkeley Big Game up. And they've got it in that high vis green. It really shows up at night good under lights. And I love it. But, you know, as far as,
what's that? Sorry.
Go ahead.
The big game is what we use on our leaders, 50-pound big game. But we recently started using Andy, and I really like it. And like you said, the memory's really low on it. But while we're on that topic, you remember where you ordered this from?
It come from Tackle Direct.
2-pound spool of Andy Premium. I know a lot of people use the Andy Monster. I'm not sure what the difference in the Andy Monster, the Andy Regular, the Andy Tournament, and the Andy Premium is. But I know this Andy Premium's great line. The high vis was more, but so we just got the clear. Daddy ordered this. I think you paid less than $80 for this spool.
$78 for a 2-pound spool.
$78 for a 2-pound spool. That's going to last any fisherman, because mono you can keep on a reel longer. And your 3,200 yards is on a 2-pound spool. 3,200 yards.
Oh, really?
So that's a ton of line. And for $78, you can't beat that price. So, and we've never really bought line in bulk, but we spent the arm and leg on line because, you know, you go buy a spool, you put 2/3 of it on, and the last third wasn't good for anything because it wasn't enough to fill a reel up. I mean, you could back a reel if you wanted to back a reel and then finish it with braid. But I just wanted to tell the people in chat about that. Where would you say again?
It was Tackle Direct.
Tackle Direct. I know it's a really popular line. Wanted to let y'all know about that. So if they've still got it in stock, that's a great buy for anybody out there looking to get some.
The only thing I worry about buying it in bulk like that, it's all right if you've got a cool, dry place inside to store it. But most of my stuff I keep outside, and you got the heat and stuff like that. So by the time I get to use it, you're going to have that extreme temperature and stuff on it, the heat and the cold, and I worry about it breaking down the line. I am real methodical in my fishing. I try and eliminate any room of error as far as my equipment, my line and stuff. That way, if I lose a fish, I know it's my own fault. It's something I did. It was human error. I don't like breaking off because I don't want to leave that fish out there with that hook in its mouth or a line in the water. I'm very cautious of that. So I try and do everything I can to minimize my effect, not only on the fish, but on the body of water that I'm fishing. That fish breaks your line, and if he breaks you off at your leader and you got a 3-foot leader, well, that fish is swimming around out there. If he gets around a stump or something when he's trying to go under it, gets that tangled up, then he's got that, and he's tangled up down there, and he ends up pulling it through his jaw or something, and it causes damage to the fish. So I try and do everything I can to minimize my footprint on it because I want to release them healthy. I want them to be healthy. And, if I can't get them to the bank, I'd rather not hook them at all. I don't want to harm the fish. I want to protect them. And, it is a resource. It can be expended. You can go through your resources. You can overfish a lake. I don't care what size it is. If you got people going out there and they're keeping every fish they catch and stuff, you can outfish a place really fast. So
no matter what size fish it is when they keep that many.
That's right.
Not and large ones.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize, like your blue cats and stuff, it takes them 8 to 9 years before they ever start spawning and actually producing offspring. So if you're down there and you're taking all these fish out, and even though you're wildlife and game, they may be stocking them in there, but if they're stocking them in at 2 pounds and those fish are not ready to spawn yet, and you're going back in and just pulling them right back out, there's no way for that water to replenish itself. We've got to be smart. CPR is a big deal. We've got to be respectful of nature and what the good Lord has given us and not take advantage of it.
That's completely true.
It is. It's got worry more. We keep very few fish, and when we do keep some, it's usually a small channel cat's what we end up keeping to eat.
And never more than a few.
Never more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, see, that's me and my wife. It's just me and my wife here, and I don't stock my freezer. I don't keep fish for that. When I'm ready to eat fish, we'll go out and we'll catch some small eaters, and I won't keep anything over 10 pounds. It has to be 10 pounds and under. And I can catch, if I catch 2 5 to 8 pound fish, I can bring that home, feed me, my wife, her uncle. We'll fry that up and cook it right then, and that's our meal. And then when next time I want fish, I'll go back out and catch some more. But I don't stock my freezer or anything.
And you've got an excuse built in to go fishing. I mean, it's 2 birds in 1 stone right there.
I don't need one. My wife is a fishaholic. She gets mad
because she's there with you.
I work, and I like to work. I like money. My wife, if she had it her way, we would fish 365 days a year, all year. And first thing out of her mouth when she wakes up is, "Are we going fishing?" And any of you guys that have been married long enough, if you usually don't do what the wife wants, it does not end well for you. So whether you really want to go fishing or not, you're going to take her fishing. Wise man will. She loves to fish.
If my wife asked me to go fishing, I would stop what I was doing right there in a heartbeat. But I don't run much risk of that. So, but she also is pretty good about telling me you just need to get out of the house and go fishing. So she might not want to.
No, if I went fishing and left my wife at home, unless she was sick or something, I better not even come back home because the deep.
That's a good problem to have. That's not a problem at all.
She takes that pretty personal. Don't leave her out of a fishing trip.
So is catfishing the only fishing you do? Or is there other species you like to target depending on the time of year? Or
Yeah, I will catch crappie. I catch walleye here. I fish for catfish, so of course you got to catch the bluegill, the brim. You got to have bait.
That's right.
So I'm really getting into that. I don't fish a whole lot for crappie and stuff, but when the spawn is on and the bite is tough, you know, if you're a fishing addict like I am, you want to go out there and feel something on the end of that line. You want to feel that bite, and it doesn't matter if it's a carp, if it's a drum, what it is. You're excited to feel something, and like when we go bait fishing, I use a very ultra sensitive 12-foot jigging pole, and that's what I catch my bluegill and stuff on. And man, they'll hit and they'll run this away and they'll run that away, and people probably think I'm retarded out there, but I'm hooping and hollering. And we catch bluegill. They're bigger than my hand, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches across the back. They're good eating, and you hook into one of them big hogs on that ultralight, and it takes off like that, and they're running through that water, and you can hear that line just a singing. It's going down through there. It's exciting. I have fun.
I tell you, you just spoke of one of my favorite fish to eat, and that's walleye. There's nothing no better than a walleye. Oh my goodness.
I've never caught one.
They're delicious.
Oh, first time I caught one, I'll share a little experience with y'all. I was young and I was up by the dam, and I was catfishing, and I caught a bunch of fresh shad, and I throwed them out, and I was fishing by a boat ramp, and I was probably 14, 15 years old, and this old man was coming back from fishing, and he ran his boat to the boat dock, and he crossed my lines. Well, as soon as he crossed my line, my rod went down. So I set the hook on that joker, and it took me a while. And he already had his boat loaded on the trailer and stuff, and he was watching me fight this fish. And I got it to the boat dock and got it up on the boat ramp. And it was about a 30-inch walleye. And I reached down, and that thing had them teeth, and I didn't know what it was. So I knocked it off of my line and released it back into that water. And that old man had been out there all day trolling for them walleye, and I didn't know it. And he about had a fit. He's been out here all day trying to catch one, and you threw it back in the water. He's like, "Do you know what that is?" I'm like, "No, sir, but that thing had teeth, and I was not sticking my hand in its mouth." And he educated me real quick on what a walleye was. And, you know, that's when he told me, "Man, that is the best eating, because it's all white meat, and they got that thick fillet on them, and it is really good eating." But, you know, that was a learning experience for me, and I had to learn like everybody else.
We've got Fishing Local 336 ask, how long does the spawn usually last? Well, for us, it normally lasts around 4 to 6 weeks. A fish is on, your females are only under the hides 2 days, you know, a few days, long enough to lay the eggs. Then they're leaving, and the males come in, and they'll stay in there for 8 to 10 days. But of course, not all fish go on spawn at the exact same time. So that's how you get around that 4 to 6 week period, or at least that's what it is here for us. Typically, that's Memorial Day to July 4th is a good time schedule. What do y'all say?
I say you can pretty much say 2 months from anywhere from the middle of May to the middle of July. The catfish could be on
Spawn.
Yeah.
But it's by water temperature. Local Fishing 336. These are that's the reason that time frame's so wide, is because the water temperature is liable to hit that sweet spot throughout, you know, anywhere in that time of year. So, but if you're talking about a yearly thing, somewhere in that area is typically pretty good for the waters here we fish. What about you, David?
Yeah, and weather patterns have a lot to do with it. If your water temperature is up and them fish move up and start to spawn, and you get a lot of rain and that fresh, cool water comes in, it will drop that water temperature back down again. And You know, it may take them longer to get in their areas, but I know a lot of people that don't like fishing the spawn. And guys, I'm going to tell you, do not just skip the spawn because it's hard fishing. If you know,
Go with it.
yeah, if you know where the fish are going to spawn at, they do not all spawn at the same time. So if you can set up in areas you know the fish are spawning, you can catch fish coming into spawn, and the females that have laid their eggs, when they leave, you can catch them coming back out. If you do not put the time in to try and figure out the spawn and figure out where these fish are at during the spawn, you're going to struggle with the spawn for the rest of your fishing life. You know, go ahead and make the sacrifice and find different areas and try and pattern them during the spawn, because you can pattern them.
Muskrat said, go fishing when you can because it's good for you.
Yep.
I seen Avid pop in the chat. Hey, Avid, if you could post a link to that trash bag challenge you've got coming up. I've mentioned it already in the live, but anybody that didn't hear me talk about it, click on that link that Avid's going to post. Or if anybody can post it, it's a great cause, and you've got the potential of winning a good gift card. So either way, it'll be awesome just to participate in it. But I wanted to mention that again now that I've seen him.
Yeah, and if you or anyone in chat has a question, guys, ask away. I have no secrets. I'm an open book.
I'm trying to thumb through
we
here
were
and read
talking
as many
as
of
we
them.
were talking about spawn. That's something I wanted to say real quick. Is your blue cats typically spawn when that water temperature is 72 to 74 degrees. They'll start spawning pretty heavy. Flatheads are a little different. They'll start spawning there sometime, but a flathead really likes that water temperature to be closer to 80 degrees before they spawn. 78 degrees to 80 degrees is where a flathead really likes to spawn.
See, down here, we're so far south and it gets warm so fast. A lot of the times, once that water temperature hits 65, our flatheads, you'll have a lot of flatheads that will come up early to spawn. Even 65 degrees, they'll start pulling up. And a lot of people miss that because, they're waiting for the water temperature to warm up. But down here, we have some great flathead water in our lakes. There's boulders bigger than cars that are out in that water, and they're down in there. And them flatheads, they love that rock. They love to, especially when they're making their holes to spawn and stuff in. If they can get near them boulders or that shell rock, and they'll dig their hole down back under it and use that shell rock as a roof and gives them that overhead cover. And so, just because the water temperature isn't quite in the 80s yet, if I know the flatheads and stuff are in that area, I will fish it and try it at any time of the year because, excuse me,
bless you,
like deer, not all deer breed at the exact same moment.
No.
You may not catch numbers of fish, but you will catch the active feeding fish. And, electronics, I think, have hindered a lot of people because with the fish finders and stuff, they go out there and they'll locate fish and they'll see them fish on the bottom, and they will sit there all day long and fish the exact same spot with no bites just because they can see them fish on that fish finder. You got to be willing to move because not every fish you see is an active feeding fish.
No.
You have to learn to read your electronics and start judging by where that fish is located at, whether he's staged to feed or he's just dormant. And because they'll feed at different times, and your bigger fish, they may only feed once every 3 to 4 days. So you may sit there for days on the same fish before you get it to bite. Kind of maximize your time on the water. Look for the fish that are staged, that are active feeding, and fish for those because, like I say, you can sit there all day long, and if they're not feeding, there's nothing you can do. that's where bumping and dragging baits helps, because even if that fish is not aggressive and he's not feeding, if you smack him in the face with it enough, like a reaction bite.
Right.
And that's how a lot of them do it. And spawn, the spawn is an excellent time to be drifting and dragging baits, because them fish are not moving as much. And when you anchor or you bank fish, you're trying to get that fish to come to you. When you're dragging baits like that, that fish could be down there and really be inactive. And when you drag that bait in front of its mouth, get it off the tip of its nose, a lot of the times they'll still bite it, and you're able to catch fish that were not really even actively feeding or aggressively biting. So, any little thing you can do like that to help improve your odds is a plus, because my wife can go out there and sit all day on the water and not catch a fish, and she's happy. I'm not wired that way. When I go fishing, I want to catch fish. If I'm not catching fish, something's wrong. I'm in the wrong spot. I'm using the wrong bait. I need to fix it.
Well, that's something, just here in the last few weeks, we've discovered is we were fishing and we were using shad and we were catching a few fish. We went back fishing and we didn't have any shad with us, and we caught a few fish, but we caught them on chickens is what we called them. We had bluegill and chicken. But when we went back and we had bluegill and shad, these fish would always eat that shad or chicken and shad. They would always eat that shad.
The chicken.
But for whatever reason, for the last couple of weeks, those fish did not want to touch bluegill.
Hadn't got a single bite on bluegill.
And bluegill's usually our number one bait, no matter when it is.
Yeah. Shad down here is usually my primary bait, but we had a big, hard winter this year, and the lakes actually froze over, and we had the first shad kill that I can remember in probably at least 30 years here. And it killed a lot of the shad off. And so now the shad are having to kind of repopulate, because down here they'll spawn at least twice a year, the shad will. And they're basically building back up. And bluegill has been a great bait, because the only thing with the bluegill is everything in the water will eat them bluegill. You may catch a bass, you may catch a striper, you may catch, a catfish, a gar. It does not matter. And, I've been out there with my live bluegill and been in a spot up close to one of the creeks, and them pesky gar would move in and kill all my live bluegill. And, of course, I was catching gar 4 and 5 foot long, but that's not what I was after. I'd rather them just left my bluegill alone. But right. Just about anything will eat them bluegill.
Yes.
Want to be outdoors. Matt, he said, I need a good or decent depth/fish finder for a budget price. Don't really need charting or GPS. Any suggestions?
Right now, you can get 73.
We use a Garmin UHD EcoMap 73 SV. It comes with mapping, side imaging, down imaging, clear view. It pretty much has all the features. Live scope accessible, so all you have to do is buy the live scope transducer separately, of course. And I think it's a regular $1,000 to $1,200 unit. I know Mama bought it for Daddy at Christmas time, and we got it for $550.
And they got them for $450 right now.
They got them for $450 right now.
For $450, you can't go wrong.
That's at Bass Pro or Gander. I don't know if Bass Pro or Cabela's. Sorry about that. I don't know if that's quite the budget you were talking about, but the unit, what you're getting for the price, it has Navionics for every lake in the United States on it. That alone's worth a ton. And the picture quality is great on it. I think they sell the 9-inch version for around $100 more typically when it's on this sale. But the 7-inch version you can see plenty on. It just comes down to personal preference. I think I seen Roger with Muskrat said he said for me, Matt, Garmin's best bang for the buck, and I would agree. That unit there, clear view, side view, down imaging,
very easy to use, very user friendly.
Yeah, has remembers where you drove. It'll show you where you've been. It'll map you out directions to go where you want to go. It's easy to put in your touch screen and button assist if you don't want to use the touch screen. So hopefully that's some good info for you. I don't know if David's got any recommendations he'd want to throw out there.
No, I mean, y'all covered it. And, get something you're comfortable with. If Humminbird is all you've ever used on your graphs and stuff, and that's what you're comfortable using, don't go out and switch to a different brand if you're not comfortable in it, because you've got to have confidence in the equipment you're using, whether it's your rods, your tackle, your fish finders. You got to have that confidence in it.
And it goes back to the talk when we were talking about gear, line, rods, reels. If there's a certain brand of line or tackle that you just have confidence in, I may not think it's the best. David might not think it's the best, but you know what? If you've got confidence in it, I guarantee you'll do better with it than what either one of us thinks the best. Just because confidence when you're out on the water, that you're making the right decision, putting the bait in the right place, not guessing yourself. And that doesn't mean sitting somewhere all day when you're not getting a bite. But having confidence in your fishing abilities and what you're fishing with goes a lot longer way than what I think a lot of people realize. It seems like you think more clearly. You start to get a better idea of what the fish is doing. When you've got confidence in yourself, you're making better decisions.
Yep. Well, and if you're confident in your gear, you're not worried about it. You're not sitting there second guessing yourself. That's right. And focus on more important things like water temperature, water clarity, fish patterns. Where are they at? Why are they here? Anytime you're out fishing, and you should pay attention to every little detail, because if you're catching fish, you need to know why are those fish there. If you're not catching fish, it's the same thing. What is different about this location from the other locations? There is something different. There is a key that we've got to figure out and put the pieces of the puzzle together. Don't go out there and just fish blind. And, if I catch something, I do. If I don't, I don't. Pay attention to what's going on, because that's going to enable you to be more successful on your fishing trips.
Yeah, I think Cody's been really wanting to start keeping a log and keep up with the weather and just keep up with more information. We pay attention when we're out there. We kind of know what the weather was like, or we can remember. But he's wanting to log it down, know what the barometer is, what the temperature was, what the wind was, and everything. And so we can start compiling some information. And when we see these weather patterns come back around, we'll know where to go.
Right. And, and even if it's not an exact location, we know at least we want to be fishing at a depth around this range. Water, we want to be in a creek. We want to be in a flat, We could have had some information that says we've caught a ton of fish in Peters Creek. Well, in these weather conditions, we go to Peters Creek and fish maybe not be in that one, but they're liable to be in a creek. So we at least know when we're changing spots, the places we want to target first. And I think it's good information. I think it's something our viewers would be interested in learning. I'm sure it's not anything anybody wants to hear us ramble about real long on, because of course, you go writing down a bunch of numbers, it get boring quick. But at least just the basics, and maybe help them get started on doing it as well. Maybe they go along the journey with us, because like I said, we've not ever done it, but we're going to start doing it.
Well, and when you're successful, when you pull up on a spot and you're catching fish, yourself, why am I catching fish here? Is there structure in a hole? Am I on the edge of a ledge, on the current scene? What is it about this spot? Because there's only so many fish in each hole. And after you catch the active feeding fish out of that hole, if you can figure out a pattern as to why them fish are there, then you can eliminate a lot of water, because you say, if this is where the fish are, say like they're in the mouth of a creek around structure, that tells you when these fish are done biting, I need to move to another creek mouth that's got structure. So it helps you eliminate a lot of water to where all your time spent on the water can be productive.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I've noticed the last couple times we've been out, the pressure's been around 29.8. I know that I've learned that a small difference in the pressure is a big change, though. It doesn't ever take huge number swings like what I was thinking it would. So it's not even something you can remember, because if you don't have it written down, you're not going to remember that tenth of an inch. I think they measure it in inches. I've been looking at it, but I just hadn't been jotting it down. Definitely need to start doing it. So
one thing I've noticed with the barometric pressure is usually if your pressure is high, right when it starts to fall, if you can be out there and be set up when that barometric pressure is falling, right when it starts to fall, man, a lot of times it will turn them on, and that bite is hot and heavy. And, once it gets down there and then it gets stable, there's still bite, but it's not as aggressive. It's not as fast.
So you said you use shad most of the time. If you ask you the question that seems to be the hot question asked, if you had one bait to use year round and, catching it's not an issue, you can snap your fingers and have that bait at any time, but it's the only bait you could have, what is it?
It's shad, gizzard shad.
Gizzard shad.
I love and especially the big gizzard shad. Down here, you can catch them 14 to 18 inches long.
Golly.
Yeah, ours don't get that big.
And
we'll see some 8-9 inch shad every now and then, but they're a rarity for us to see. We're happy when we get on a good school of 4-inch shad.
Yeah, right now the shad are so scarce because of that shad freeze. There's guys out there using little 2-inch shad because that's all they can get a hold of. But man, if you want to see a fat boy get excited, when I get me some big old shad, I am excited because I know what that's going to be. And, I fish with them live, and especially in the fall, man, you can take them big old shad and cut them big old head pieces off, and them blues will absolutely hammer them big old heads. I think the head pieces keep more oil and blood in them. So when I do cut that head piece, whether it's shad, bluegill, carp, no matter what it is, if I'm doing cut bait, that head piece is my favorite piece of cut bait.
Definitely. And I'm just like you. And even though the last 3 fishing trips, shad was number 1, chicken was number 1, then back to shad, I would still, if I could only use one bait, it would still be cut bluegill.
Yeah. Cut bluegill works really well in our waters. We don't have skipjack. We don't have extremely large shad. We have a good number of shad, but they don't grow to be these big sizes. I really wish we had skipjack.
Me too.
Do y'all have skipjack?
No, if we did, I would have them suckers out there. And man, I would love to go and just catch the skipjack. I see these
like a blast.
Yeah, they're going out there with these sabiki rigs, and they're catching them 3 at a time. And I've seen them cast for them. I've seen them troll for them. Man, you go out there with some light tackle and go to catching that bait, man, it's going to be hard to get me off of there. You better hope you need lots of bait, because I will be like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, we're getting ready to take a trip down the Tennessee River and fish the 23rd and 24th of this month.
Trophy Seekers Outdoors. Daryl, if y'all haven't checked out his channel, be sure to do so.
I'm definitely looking forward to getting down there and trying to catch some of those skipjack.
Yeah. I've seen some videos of people down there next to the Chickamauga Dam. I believe that's the correct dam. And, like I said, they're using the Sadiki rig and stuff, and they're pulling them in 2-3 huge skipjack. And the things put up a fight. They just look like they look like as much fun to catch as a crappie. And
I've seen them even on the Foley spoons. They'll get out there with them Foley spoons. And I know a lot of people probably don't watch people catch bait on their bait videos, but I do because I get excited. You know, a lot of people, they'll go out fishing for bluegill or brim or shell cracker, whatever they want to call them. And, you know, they're out there killing time, but I got big hands. So when you pull out a shell cracker or something that's as big as my hand, I get excited. And, you know, I love it. But I would have lots of fun catching the bait.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I personally love to fish for different stuff. I like to fish for crappie when the crappie bite's good. You know, kind of a fair weather crappie fisherman. I don't want to search for them as hard as I search for some different stuff when I'm watching it on YouTube. And I like to be able to get out and do it. Just something to break up the monotony. You know, 90% of the time.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how long you've been fishing. You can always learn something new from it. Yeah, I seen Matt, but I'm still here. If any of you guys have questions or anything, I can see some of the chat. I can't put it up there, but I can answer questions for y'all. Matt, I noticed you asked earlier about how do I preserve the shad or bait, live bait. I don't normally freeze my bait, even the shad. I like to catch them fresh. If I have a choice between fresh or frozen, I will always go with the fresh bait. You can use the saltwater brine when you catch your shad and stuff and put them in there, and kind of it lowers that toxicity in the shad, and they don't deteriorate as fast. But another thing I've noticed with the frozen fish, when you defrost your frozen bait, you don't have as much blood in it, and it does not. I don't think the blood puts off as much scent. Now the shad has natural oil, and you're still going to put on oil, but my advice to anybody, if you have no choice but to freeze your bait and use frozen bait, then by all means do that. But if you can go out the night before or early that morning before you get on the water, I would always recommend fresh bait.
We use a lot of frozen bait. Just for the simple fact is, when we get time, we only normally get time to go fishing on Saturday mornings. Work during the week, Sunday's church, so we only have Saturday. And especially this time of year, if you're not out there at sun up fishing and getting a few hours in, you're not going to be able to be on the lake because there's the wake boats are just going to beat you off the water. So we use a lot of frozen bluegill and frozen shad, and we vacuum seal it. Daddy always vacuum seals it, and I seem like we have a lot better luck with that. Now, once you've undone it, we'll bring it back. We might vacuum seal it once more, but after that, it starts to deteriorate a little bit. But if you store it correctly, it may not be as good as live bait, but it'll still catch fish.
Yeah.
So don't let that deter you from going out and giving it a go, because it'll still catch fish. And if we get out and we're using frozen bait and I see a big school of shad coming by, we'll jerk the cast net up.
Yeah.
We've got live shad to fish with. Well, of course, if we get a good amount of it, well, I'm not throwing that shad away. So we're going to bring it home and put it in the vacuum sealer, you know, because it's not going to stay alive in a live well.
No,
shad's just they're finicky. It's a finicky species.
Yeah, and what I do when I go out and I catch the shad and stuff, I want to make sure I have enough to fish with. And if I bring stuff home to freeze or something, or to use the next day, and we're going to vacuum seal it and stuff, when I do my packaging, I always plan for the fish bite to be on. So I know about how much bait I need to do a day's fishing. And I will pack it in those amounts. And that way you're not freezing, defrosting, refreezing, defrosting. You know, that's something that will help you and keep your bait in there too. I always kind of try and ration how much. And every time I go to the lake, I keep a cast net with me at all times because, you know, they're strange creatures. You can be out there and sometimes the shad are shallow. Sometimes they might be deep, and they may come up at certain times early in the morning and late at night. They may be up shallow to where you can get them, or at the boat ramps. So you always got to be prepared. I keep a cast net with me at all times because if fresh bait comes up in there, I do not want to miss that opportunity for that fresh bait. Last time we went out and we went over by the boat docks and the ramps, and I threw my net till my arm about fell off. Never got on any shad, and we started catching bluegills for bait. And a little bit later, thousands of new shad hatchlings, about an inch long. They come up in there, and they were all just about an inch long, but man, they were full up in there. So it's going to take some time for those shad to grow, but you know, you always get a look on the bright side. My shad population will be coming back up, but everyone's been struggling with the shad down here, even in deep water, trying to catch them in deep water. The shad kill really hurt the shad population.
And I know Daddy's always been big on, he wants to see them before he throws the cast net. So the other day we're back in a creek and it was covered up with shad, but they're real skittish. And every time we would get close enough that he could cast on them, they would just scatter. And he would get some here and there, but he wasn't actually, you know, pulling them in like he wanted to. He cast them for an hour and a half, and he cast the cast net better than I do. Finally, I said, let me show you how it's done. There wasn't a shad in sight. I'd throw the cast net, it'd open up halfway. Thing would come back so full I couldn't hardly pick it up out of the boat, pick it up to get in the boat. So don't be afraid to blind cast because you can pull them in. He was pretty aggravated because he done wore his shoulder out throwing it, and I kept spooking him trying to get him up next to him, and then I cast it out, and it halfway opens up. And in about 3 casts, we brought home 150 shad.
Yeah, I always watch the surface of the water, because if I see one shad come up and flick that water, and I see them start breaking the surface, that's when I know I'm gonna throw. Because man, when I throw that net, I suck at it, so I'm trying to throw it as few times as possible, and I really want to load up on them shad. I'm not the most graceful person with the net, and I have to constantly be aware of and tell myself, because I throw it too hard, and I try not to, but when you throw it too hard, you'll know, because the net will collapse. It will catch up to itself, and I really struggle with that. I'm not a very finesse person. I'm a little bit on the large side, and I'm more like a buffalo, not a giraffe or gazelle. I'm not graceful at all. You know.
Well, I don't know if sorry if we've lost connection a few times. I know we had to relog back in the StreamYard a while ago.
That's all right.
But I'll go ahead and give you a minute. While we've got good service, I don't want to go blank on everybody. Go through, tell them about your channel. Somebody go ahead and drop a link to Country Boy Catfishing again. And y'all guys be sure to go over and sub. Go ahead and tell them everything they need to know about Country Boy Catfishing and you yourself.
All right. Well, first of all, my name's David, and I am Country Boy Catfishing. I'm in southern central Oklahoma. I'm almost on the Texas state line, and I love to fish, but I started my channel because there's a lot of people that are getting into fishing, and there's not a whole lot of educational information out there as far as bank fishermen go. And I do a lot of bank fishermen fishing. So I wanted to get knowledge out there and give us a forum to where we could go. And I discuss things, line, knots. When I do my live streams and stuff, I'm not just out there fishing. I tell you where I'm fishing, what I'm fishing with, why I'm there. I'm basically sharing all the years of knowledge that I've gained with everyone, because I want you to be able to go out there and have the same success I do. Fins and Fowl, he fishes some of the same water I do, and I was able to go out there and catch some fat blues. They were just bulging fat, and he watched it, and he went out there, and man, he got on some of them, and he sent me a message, and he's like, man, I caught me some of them big fat boys. And to me, that was fulfillment right there. I was excited because that's my goal. I'm not any better than anybody else. I don't want to try and be. I want to help you become a better angler. When you go fishing, I don't want you to be frustrated. I want you to be able to go out there and catch fish. Even if you're going to eat some, I want you to go out there and be successful. So I have no secrets. I share any information and all information with everybody. I'm very open. If anyone ever has a question, you can pop into streams or catch me in anyone's live stream, and I'll answer your question. You can email me. You can look me up on Facebook under David Zimmerman. I try to respond to everybody because I want you to know that you're important. And if you have a question, I want to make sure I answer it, because there's not a whole lot of places you can go and get questions answered without attitude. Some of the guys, the Facebook groups, man, they can be very rude. Don't do that. I'm not here to bash anybody. But just like the tackle, I went through and I did a show. I showed what knots I tie. I showed them how I tied them, why I tie them. And, so I put out to be very educational. I want people to learn from it. I'm not out there to say, hi, hey, I'm catching fish and you're not. I want you to be successful on the water.
So, and you do a weekly show every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Is it
8 Central?
Okay, 7 o'clock our time. So
We are Central.
We are Central.
Yeah.
Oh, so 8 o'clock. Okay. Sorry,
Yes.
my bad.
Yep. I go on right after Patriot James.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's every Wednesday night, and that's called Fishing 101. He most of the time has him a guest on with him. Sometimes it's him just giving you some knowledge, but his guests are always amazing. He keeps a great roster of people coming up with him, and he's got some amazing knowledge himself. So y'all be sure to check him out. Tomorrow night, Daddy has got us entered into the Iron Cat Boat Challenge.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is put on by
Down.
Palmetto Cats. There's some amazing people going to be in it. Some channels that are pretty new and really starting to try to build their channel. So come over, be able to check them out, be able to check us out. I think there's 2 stands, Blue Line, Brian B. There's 8 of them.
Fishing with the Squirrel.
Fishing with Squirrel. Fishing Chick.
Fishing Chick.
So there's some
Ernie Brown.
Yep.
Yep.
There's going to be some great people in it. Kevin already has a promo video put up, and the link is all the channels. Be sure to go over there, check them out, give them a sub, help everybody grow together. Okay. I think at the beginning of next week, Tuesday, we're going to be on a Muskrat Adventures show. Probably talk a little bit about our upcoming kids tournament that's going to go on July 31st. There's a promo video for that on our channel, so you can jump over and check that out. But that'll be Tuesday on Muskrat Adventures. We'll get to be able to talk with Roger a little bit, and that should be a great time. But that's what we got going on. That's a little bit about Country Boy Catfishing. Thank y'all for joining us. We always end our streams with a prayer. So if you want to lead into that for us, we'll do that.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day, Lord. Just thank you for all these people who came into the chats and joined us, Lord. Thank you for David as he joined us tonight and helped us all grow with his knowledge. Lord, we just ask your blessings upon each and every person, Lord, and we just ask you to be the guiding light beneath our feet. And just, again, Lord, we just thank you for all your blessings. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you so much, David, for coming on with us. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
I appreciate it, guys. I love coming on. I love talking. All the tournaments that are going on right now, I really want to get involved in these tournaments, but I am so busy. And, fishing is expensive, guys. My wife wants me to get another boat and stuff, and we're building a new house. So I'm actually taking out a second job. I'm fixing to start it on the 12th. And I'm going to be working 2 jobs. I will still be in as many live streams as I can. I still want to support everybody and do my show, but I'm basically working a second job to where I can take that money and put it all towards fishing. And that way my wife can't complain that I'm taking money away from the house project.
There you go.
You got to have priorities in life, guys. And sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's right.
We understand.
Well, we wish you the best and all that, David. Don't wear yourself out. Make sure you have time to go fishing. As we always say, it's God, family, and the great outdoors.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us.
You bet, guys. Thank you so much.